Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my onboarding hub. On behalf of my onboarding hub, I would like to warmly welcome you to today's webinar, which is titled Man Up versus Opening Up Redefining Strength Through Vulnerability. My name is Marvelous Oguntola, and I've been your moderator on this webinar series, and it's nice to see you all again. So thank you for joining our live today. We really appreciate that. Whether you're watching from Nigeria, from Canada, from the United States, it's an honor to have you here. And as we mark our Men's Mental Health Month, today's conversation is an opportunity to challenge the belief that men must always be strong and that remaining resilient. Instead, we will explore how vulnerable, how emotional, and how is important for us to seek help as men today. And today we have an important guest. This guest is I'm very sentimental to this guest because I have followed his social media handle very keenly. I had watched videos, and I'm telling you, this man is a man of intelligence. Is amazing. Is marvelous. I'm going to use my name because I want to express how gifted he is. And his name is Mr. Victor. Mr. Victor is very passionate about helping people understand their emotions, develop healthy coping strategies, and how to break down stigma surrounding mental health. Today is going to be sharing insights on man up versus opening up, and permit me to bring up this amazing man to the channel today. Good day, Mr. Victor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good day, Marvelous. I can hear you clearly.
All right, it's an honor to have you here today. And on behalf of my onboarding hub, I'm saying thank you so much for giving us your time, for dedicating this time to us today. I would like to know if you can introduce yourself very briefly before we go into today's session.
All right, I'm Victor Roots. So, and I'm a clinical psychologist with special interest in trauma. Uh, Part of why I ever decided to study psychology was because I wanted to understand how trauma we can heal from it. So the majority of my work has been focused on helping people identifying that the trauma that happened to them and also to recover from it and also helping them understand how trauma can impact their relationships, their parenting, and their lives as a whole. So yeah, basically, like you said, you've seen my video, so you know that's all I mostly what I do.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
can, and
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much for that brief introduction. And I'm sure as we go ahead in the session, we'll see more of you and more of your expertise in today's session. So I'm going to go very briefly, I'm going to go very quickly rather into today's webinar. And I'm going to say my first question goes to us. How has the idea of masculinity evolved in today's society, and what challenges does it still present for men emotionally?
Hmm. Good question. Very good question. So when you think about masculinity, you're looking at a blueprint, basically. And this blueprint determines how men are expected to show up in the society. So there's an expectation. And as a man, as male, if you're not showing up that way, you're regarded as not being masculine enough. And it does have social consequences. And what does this masculinity really imply, especially from the traditional perspective? Masculinity is about providing, protecting, not showing vulnerability, not showing emotions, as the emotions are considered uh, traits of women. So a man is not expected to show any form of vulnerability or to express his emotion. It does not mean that the man cannot experience emotion because you do not have the capacity to stop yourself from experiencing an emotion. But you don't get to express it. But that was traditional understanding of masculinity. The good thing is that today in 2026, a lot has changed because people are becoming more aware. There's a lot of mental health awareness. So the men of today, the younger generation, they are questioning these things. They are coming to understand that what they were told is not entirely true because they are crying. They are having difficult emotional experiences and they are trying to understand why these things are happening to them. So men are asking questions, men are allowing themselves the permission to feel because that's the fundamental thing that happens. You're not allowed to feel. You try to feel and you're rebuked or you're dismissed. If you look at it from a trauma perspective, you understand that as a male child, while growing up, you're not really allowed to show emotion. You're not even allowed to cry. You're told, shut up. You cannot cry. Why are you crying? Don't you know you're a boy? You should not cry. You keep quiet. And when that happens, the message that the child or the boy gets is that uh, I'm not allowed to express emotion, and expressing it is unsafe or it is shameful, or that when I express emotion, there is a consequence for it. The brain immediately associates emotional experiences with danger. So the child grows up with that blueprint, not agreeing, not accepting, not believing that they can actually express emotions. Now, what does this mean for us? Today, the society is saying men can show emotion. Show emotion. Oh, we need you to show emotion. Like if you go online, you see a lot of conversations on this. Show emotion. We want men that can feel. But it's not that easy. The reason it's not that easy is because this is a conditioning that has taken years, years. So you don't just wake up one morning and snap out of it. It takes time. It takes time for you to change how you think about emotion because if change is coming, if healing is coming, it starts at the cognitive level. So you need to first of all change how you think about emotion. When you change that successfully, then it filters, it reflects in behavior and in the emotions. And basically, what is it about emotions? It is that when we have such traumatic childhood, it impairs our ability to have a healthy relationship with emotions. So when you are unable to express your emotions, when you are unable to have a healthy emotional experience, it is because your relationship with emotions has been disrupted. So what it implies for us today is that we need to understand that it's going to take time, but men need to do the work. Regardless of the fact that it's taking time, they need to do the work, which means you have to first of all start accepting that you can feel and that it is allowed. You are allowed to feel. As a man, your emotions are valid. A lot of men don't know that their emotions are valid. So, as a man, you need to validate your emotional experiences. It doesn't matter if other people around you they do not, but you have to start first because you need to be true to yourself. All right. So that's what it implies for us in today's world. I hope that answered you.
That was very detailed, Mr. Victor, and I really appreciate the fact that you broke that down. And one of the things that stood out for me was that men are allowed to feel, which I feel like has been something that has been compressed down like for a long time. A lot of men
Hmm.
has felt like while myself while growing up too, I felt like, oh, I wasn't allowed to complain if I was feeling pain or if I injured. I had to just dust it off and get up and like don't acknowledge that I just injured. And
Absolutely.
that's how we relate to the mental health. And I think that was apt and that was very clear. And this leads me to my next question. And basically is, why do
Yeah.
men struggle with expressing emotional vulnerability? Now, it's a different thing for you to know, to acknowledge it, that okay, I know I'm acknowledging my feeling, I'm acknowledging my emotion. But why do men
Mhm.
struggle to express this emotional vulnerability even when they are in a safe environment? Because there's a time while I was at an event, or would I say at an event, or I was somewhere
Okay.
basically, and I had the chance, because this is also helping me directly. I had the chance to express myself to to someone in the mental health space, but I didn't want to feel
Okay.
vulnerable, because what I wanted to complain about was or what I wanted to express about was what I felt like wasn't really something that a man should talk about. So
Right.
I want you to clarify this. How do we express that even when we're in safe environment?
Hmm. Hmm. Good question again. So you see, when you talk about being vulnerable, it's one of the hardest things for men to do, and it is not because they don't want to be vulnerable. You need to understand it is the environment. The environment is powerful. The environment shapes you. And when you look at a child, the experiences that a child has or gets exposed to as a child, they teach the child three things. They teach the child things about him or herself. They also teach the child about their immediate family or their caregivers or parents. And they also teach the child about the larger society. You see that? So we are looking at what the larger society does to men that makes it difficult for them not to be vulnerable. And you know that being vulnerable is seen as a weakness. It is perceived as weakness. And socially, as a man, you don't want to be seen as a weak person. You don't want to be adjudged as, that guy is weak, is weak. Imagine a man comes online and is crying about, oh, his relationship or something. People are going to say, such a weak person, all right? That attaches one thing, the emotion of shame, to vulnerability. Shame is an emotion that can actually make you weak. It can make you weak. So when a man knows that opening up, being vulnerable about whatever his personal challenges are, is going to attract shame or invalidation or dismissal, you would better keep it in. Because I tell you, if you talk to somebody about something that you're feeling and they dismiss you, it makes the pain double. The original pain that you were feeling and the second pain of the dismissal. And this is part of what men try to avoid. I read something recently on Facebook. The guy was talking to men and he said that you should stop telling your partners about your financial challenges, that it makes them lose interest in you. Yeah, that was it. So when I read it, of course, it sounded like good advice based on what is obtainable out there, but it is not good advice because that tells you that there is no intimacy in that relationship. If there is intimacy, you should be able to feel, to be vulnerable to your partner, to be able to tell them whatever challenge that you're facing and not be worried that they will lose interest in you or that they will humiliate you or shame you. But when you think about it, you look at the life of a child, a boy is crying and they rebuke him or they punish him or they ask me to get out of here. What that tells him is that if I am vulnerable, it attracts rejection. It attracts rejection. It takes away my sense of belonging within a community, the society in this case. So men are trying to keep it in, to not say it out so that they will not experience that rejection. Now, the first reason why a man will not want to be vulnerable is that he does not want you to use that against him. He does not want you to weaponize whatever he has told you, which, if we are being fair to ourselves, it happens a lot. It does happen. You see men open up and then it is used against them. So, in order to protect themselves, they try not to share. The other thing that it does is that they do not have emotional vocabulary. Yes, they know they are feeling something, but they don't know what they are feeling. Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I frustrated? Am I disappointed? So most times, most men, what they use is anger. They just say, I'm angry, or I'm upset, or I'm fine, because they lack the vocabulary to express what they are feeling. And like I mentioned earlier, shame, the shame that comes with being vulnerable and how people would react to it. That's why men don't like being vulnerable. It is not that they cannot be, they can be in a right environment, they can be. And finally, on this, we should also understand, like I said earlier, that there's a blueprint that they are working with. So it is not enough that you've created safety. You can create safety for somebody and they will be in that space and not feel safe, because safety is not just about the environment. Safety is also internal. There is something called felt safety. So the person has to feel safe within. So despite the what you've done, the effort you've made for them to be able to feel safe and open up, if they are not feeling safe inside, they are not going to open up. And we see this a lot in therapy, because therapy is supposed to be a safe space. But you see that some men can come to therapy and it will take them a long time to relax into the therapy, which is why therapeutic alliance is much more difficult with men than with women. Because a man can come to therapy and do the first therapy and do the second therapy and do the third therapy up to the fifth and still not feel safe enough to actually tell you how they feel. I hope that answers it.
That was very apt, and you've answered some particular questions that had even been coined out from today's webinar. The answer was amazing. I'm not going to even downplay it. It was amazing, but I'm still going to go over, because I feel like you've touched literally almost all the parts in this webinar session, and we just started. I'm sure everybody watching this webinar now and after now, they're going to be grateful that they tuned in for this webinar, because me myself, I'm learning. I'm learning. So I'm just going to go into one of these questions. So, what early warning signs of emotional distress in men are often overlooked or misunderstood? Because now you have mentioned why we don't open up. You have mentioned why we won't even open up in a safe space. So now,
Mhm.
as a person, as a man that I am, what early warning signs of emotional distress in men are often overlooked or like misunderstood that we need to pay more attention to?
Okay. Okay. So with this, it can be a little bit more complex for men because it doesn't always present the same way in women and in men. So for men now, you see that when a man is depressed, sometimes it could be anger or some irritability. You're just seeing him angry, snapping at people, and you're wondering what's going on. Something is happening inside of him. He may not tell you, but something is happening. So he's experiencing immense distress emotionally. You can also see overworking. Some men use work to escape from what they are feeling. And I tell you something about this. When women experience heartbreak, there is a way they respond to it, but there is something men do when they experience heartbreak. If you check generally, it's either they go to the gym or you see them go out of their way to invest themselves into work, anything that will help them make money. So when they make money, most of them, because when you make money, it can also increase your chances as a man of getting more women or having more opportunity with women. So when they make that money, it kind of masks their need for that original healing that they have not uh, gotten, all right? Because they drove themselves into overworking, working, ambition, doing something, just trying to make money or pursue a particular career, all right? So men can engage in overworking as a way to mask a distress that they are feeling. Another thing is that they can withdraw, social withdrawal. They can withdraw from their friends, from their family members. You just see them stay in their corner. It's also a sign that they are experiencing emotional distress. And I think that you may be aware of this, but sometimes in a relationship, you're wondering why the man is not telling you what is going on, but he's also distant from you. After a while, maybe if he's figured himself out, he may not come out and say, "Oh, I was in a dark place," but he did not communicate. And when you look at that, it also boils down to the same thing we talked earlier, which is not being able to be vulnerable to actually talk about what is going on with them. Then, apart from the withdrawal, there is also increased drinking, smoking, gambling, and risky behavior. So you may have seen that. You see them engage drinking, smoking a lot, like crazy amount of smoking. And then there's also risky behavior, like maybe you see them not obeying traffic rules, driving recklessly, like let me just die, let me just kill myself, that kind of behavior. Or you see them engaging in reckless, unprotected sex, like I don't mind what I'm going to contract, I'm just going to do it. So when you see these things, so you know that something is going on with this man. There is also the physical signs like headaches, like tiredness, fatigue, pains, chronic pains in the body. But when you see these signs, you know that something is going on with this person, right? So it doesn't really present itself like you just lying down in bed from morning till night, feeling weak, feeling demotivated. It doesn't always present that way, but it can be lack of interest in the things that you love doing, lack of interest in going to places that you love going to. So these are some of the ways that you know that something is going on with this man. If you see these signs, even if it's just a week that you see them, you need to start looking for help. Try to talk to a professional to know what is really going on with you.
This is what I'm saying. Your answers are very, very detailed and well thought out. Because even as an individual, as a man myself, like I've noticed some of these symptoms, some of these signs that you have mentioned. I've noticed it in myself. Probably when I'm struggling with something emotionally, or when I'm in a bad place mentally. I've noticed some of these signs, and one of them I have noticed is overworking myself. I will drown myself in my job, doing all I can, and it's not really healthy. And I needed to take some series of sessions to make sure that I got out of that place mentally. And that's why I said your answers are out, because even while ending the conversation, you said seek professional help. So how much more do I need to, or do you need to clarify for us? But I'm still going to go ahead, because I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy today, Mr. Victor. So like how like
Exactly.
okay, we have family members, and some of the people watching these videos, they have partners, they have
Mm,
they have wives. So the next question is, how can families, partners, and communities create safer
yeah.
spaces that encourage men to open up emotionally?
Okay. When it comes to, because as a man, you do not exist alone. You don't live in isolation. You're part of a community. And when we talk about positive mental health, we're also looking at not just how you feel inside, we're also looking at how you relate with the community where you belong, right? So um, you don't just have positive mental health all by yourself in your own space. No, we also have to assess how you are interacting with people around you. Now, how can the people around you contribute to you having health, positive mental health, or you being able to open up, to speak up when you're going through challenges? The number one thing is that they have to be willing to listen. From my experience, I don't think that men are listened to enough. Yes, men are not listened to enough. This is one major problem that men have. It is different for women. For men, people don't listen to men, especially when it has to do with mental health, emotions. People don't listen. Both men and women don't listen to men. Yes. So we start with listening, because a lot of times what the man just needs is somebody that will just sit down and listen, and not judge him, and not criticize, and not interrupt. Because most times they want you to gain proper perspective of what they are saying. Do not criticize. They just want you to listen to them. So this listening part is the key thing that you need to offer to a man. If you can listen to him without interrupting him, without judging him, he's likely going to try again, because that listening creates the kind of safety that can enable him to open up more. If he says one thing, you interrupt him. He says another thing, you ask one big question, it's not going to help him. Or he says one thing, you make an assumption. That's another one that is common. People make a lot of assumptions. They just assume. So, and your assumption is something that is kind of opposite how he truly feels or what he's trying to communicate. You lose him. You lose him because now he's going to go back into that shell where he only tried to escape from. He will go back in. So we start with listening. Then we also start with not invalidating emotions. I always say it, your emotions are valid. They are always valid. Your emotions are always valid because emotions, they are data. So if there is an emotion, that emotion has a purpose. It is valid for that purpose. You cannot say, oh, you're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to be sad. No, he's supposed to be angry because there is something behind the anger. He's supposed to be sad because there is something behind the sadness. So that sadness is valid. So you do not invalidate, you don't dismiss the person or the man. You don't dismiss, you don't tell him that, oh, is it this thing or is it this small thing? Ah, but you are a man, now you should not don't feel bad. He's allowed to feel bad. If he's feeling bad, let him feel bad. If he wants to cry, he should cry. Let him cry. So that's how you validate. There is something people do, especially with emotions, they invalidate you, they discount you. That means they make what you're saying look like it is not a big deal. They try to reduce it. No, don't do that because you are not the person having that lived experience. So the person having that lived experience, it is a big deal. And if you look at the trauma perspective again, you see that when we were children, a child will cry about maybe a toy or something, and an adult will say, ah, is it this small thing that is making you cry? This no, it is not a small thing. That's where the seed of invalidation is planted. It is not a small thing because if a child is crying, it is a big deal. And let's not forget that a child has a world that is different from your world. You are using your adult eye to look at the situation and look at it as something that is not a big deal. But to the child, it is a big deal. Now we take that, we mature, we grow up into adulthood with that, and we keep recycling it. So we treat what the man is feeling as if it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And if you want him to be willing to open up again, you have to recognize that whatever it is that he's feeling is a big deal for him so that you can support him. And being a support system to a man, whether it's your husband or your brother, it starts with that listening, it starts with not invalidating what they are trying to communicate to you. It starts with being willing to be there for him. All right. So I think that these three, we can work with that.
That
I don't
was
think too
that
much.
was I was lost myself. Like I was lost because you were breaking it down from like childhood till this very point, and I was I was just imagining like, oh, so this was what was going on. Okay, this was what
That's
happened,
all.
and you said something
That's
very
all.
profound. You said you said our emotions, our reactions to things are data, so your
Mm.
feelings are data. So you should treat them as data. So when I get upset at
Yeah.
somebody, what I should try to find out is what made me upset, and get that
Mhm.
information. That data
Mhm.
is important. And as I
That's
said,
right.
I'm learning from this call, and I must say, we at my body know we are grateful. We are really, really grateful. So we just have one more question for you. But before we go into that question, I want to jump into
Okay.
something that is a little bit off the rails, I would say. Now,
Mm.
for people, like for individuals like myself, for men that work like in our workplace. Now, the conversation we have
Mm.
had for a while now didn't really cover the workspace, if you had noticed. And
That's
and
true.
as male, we work in organizations, we work in offices, we work in banks, we work in hospitals, and sometimes you might work with women, or you might work with other men that might feel, or that might not see opening up or expressing yourself as the right thing to do. So I want to just ask very quickly, as men in workplace, how can we manage and be vulnerable in our workplace without looking weak?
Mm. So that's also an important question. But you see, when it comes to opening up, you have to understand that you need to have a safe person to open up to. That's important. So you can be in a workplace, but it does not necessarily mean that the opening up will happen in that environment. It does not
Okay.
necessarily mean that. That is why you see people go to therapy and now talk about what is happening at their workplace. Yes. All right. So in the workplace, we try to keep everything as professional as we can. You cannot be seeking for emotional support in the workplace. However,
Yeah.
a workplace that understands and prioritizes psychological safety must have maybe an in-house counselor or therapist that you talk to about these things. Yes, they should. That's part of how you ensure that your people they are working in a space that is psychologically safe. They have someone. You don't necessarily need to open up to a colleague because they may not know how to deal with the information that you will share with them. They may not have the capacity. That's another thing because you may be sharing something to somebody who doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with that information. I mean, you know this. Therapists, we also go to therapy. You know why we go to therapy? It's because sometimes we receive things that are overwhelming. And when they're overwhelming, we need to talk to someone else too so that we can unpack what we have received. So even in that workplace, some people that you may want to talk to, they may not have the capacity to receive what you're trying to say. So you, as a person, as a worker, it is your job to identify the people that are safe for you, your safe spaces, people that you can talk to. You may have in the workplace, that is good. If you don't have them, you may have outside the workplace, you may have at home. If you go to church, for instance, you may have in your church. If you are a Muslim, you may have someone in your mosque that you talk to. If you're anybody that you are, you may have somebody that is a safe space for you. But what's important is that you should be able to open up. And if you don't have somebody, a physical person that you talk to, you can also talk to your journal. Mm. You can talk to your journal. Sometimes, because our experiences are not the same, right? So you can you if that the fact that you have people that you can talk to that may not doesn't mean that the next person does. So sometimes what you have may be your journal. You can also talk to your journal. You can sit down and talk to your journal and share to your journal how you feel. That also works. And this is in the absence of an actual person that you can talk to. So you don't keep it all in because when you talk to your journal, you are externalizing that experience, that emotion. You're externalizing it, it gives you the opportunity to step away from it and look at it as a third party. So it's easier to process, it's easier to handle, unlike when everything is inside your head and you're trying to process it all. Right? I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Victor. And that was very, very apt. And that's one of the things that, for our viewers that are listening to us, that's one of the things that's one of our core systems here in My Onboarding Hub. So we provide EAP services for organizations, and we even train their HR, their consultants rather, to provide safe spaces like this for their
Okay.
organization. And as I've just said, it's very important because in the organization I work myself, they are dedicated people, counselors supporting our mental health in the organization. And this leads me to my,
Perfect.
my final question here today. What are the practical steps men can take to buid emotional resilience and seek help without the fear of judgment?
Mm, mm. So, with building resilience, a lot of times some people may think that resilience is you just trying to step away from the problem. No, it is you walking through the problem and then building capacity, building staying power that enables you to be able to deal with a situation in increasing order. So if you're able to deal with this amount of pressure today, tomorrow you are able to manage it better or manage a bigger situation better. One of the tools that you use in terms of building resilience is first the cognitive aspect, recognizing that help. is okay. It is okay as a man to seek help. It is okay as a man to need help. I know that you know this, that the rate of suicide for men is more than that of women. And it's simply because women tend to access help because they actually seek it out, unlike men. And it's not like sometimes men may try, but even in the company of males, it's even difficult to find help because when you come and talk about it, say, what's the problem? Emotional. They must take drink and drink, my brother. Just drink, drink. Why you? What's the emotion? Emotion is for women now. You can't behave like woman. You know that sort of thing. So you find yourself in that setting. You're unable to access help, right? So you have to first of all agree that it is okay for you to seek help, that it does not make you weak, it does not reduce you, that first you should be true to yourself. Then you can also use breathing exercise. Breathing exercise helps you to sit through a particularly difficult emotion. Of course, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. That's understandable, but that can work. You can do that. You can also go to the gym, do exercise, take walks, try to immerse yourself in nature, right? Then, most importantly, learn to sit with the discomfort that you are feeling. Mhm. This is important because we have been taught all our lives to run from emotions. That is the problem. All our lives we are running. You're running, running. You're trying to shut it down. You're trying to numb it. You're trying to suppress it. So our first instinct is to try to run from the emotion. So you have to learn. You cannot build resilience if you're not learning to actually sit with it. You have to learn to sit with sadness and feel it. You feel it. You allow it to be with you, sit with you. You process it. If you start to feel like it's becoming overwhelming, you can step out, give yourself a break, then come back to it, sit with it. What is this sadness trying to tell me? What is it trying to say to me? Or this anger, or this frustration? Why am I feeling frustrated? So learning to sit with your emotions is very, very important. And like I mentioned earlier, you can do that with the help of a journal. There's also grounding. There's also grounding because a lot of times when you are feeling distressed, you may notice that your body is dissociating. Your body is dissociating. So you use grounding to keep yourself where you are in the moment. Why? Because something may be happening to you right now that is similar to something that has happened to you in the past. Your body may transport you from this moment back to that past. So physically, you may not be feeling yourself, you may not be feeling your legs. So we use grounding to try to stay where we are in the moment. That also helps you to put context to what is happening to you. It helps you to understand that this is what is happening, not what happened 10 years ago. This one now is what is happening. So you can process in the moment. And what do you do? How do you do that? You can look around you, sit down comfortably, lie down comfortably, look around you, feel things with your legs. What can you see with your eyes? You know the things that you're seeing with your eyes. What can you smell around you? What can you hear around you? What can you touch around you? These things are telling you with through your five senses where you are. I am in my room. In this my room. This is my table. This is my phone. This is my laptop. These are the things that you're familiar with, things that you know. So when you start to feel like you are not here, you are reminded with the data that you have that this is where I am. I am here. So what is really happening to me? Why am I feeling like this? What really happened? So you can process it, right? So these are some of the ways that you can help yourself to build resilience. But you do not run away from your emotional experiences. You do not run from it. You allow yourself to experience them. If you experience today for 30 minutes, tomorrow you try again. Tomorrow you try, next day you try again. After a while, you see that you're now able to sit with it for 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. Your capacity is increasing. That's how you develop it. That same way, when you talk to somebody and they say something that should particularly offend you, that if in the past it will trigger you so badly that you will begin to act out, you will not be able to control yourself, you will not be able to regulate yourself. Because you have been practicing, you will not be able in the moment to regulate how you are feeling. You'll be in the moment be able to reframe, oh, this thing they said, it's not about me. It is not an attack on me. It does not attack my identity. Even in the workplace, your boss may say something. Instead of you to feel triggered, you're able to reframe it in the moment because you have been building capacity. But if you're not building capacity, it's easy for somebody to unsettle you. One thing they will say will unsettle you because all over your whole body, your emotions, everything will be running amok, and it will be like you've lost control of yourself. So these are some of the few ways that you can build resilience.
Thank you so much for that detailed response. Like grounding yourself, taking note of things in your environment, sitting with the emotions. And I'm telling you, like these are very apt techniques, very apt methods that women can implement. And I would say for everyone watching this video, for everyone following this webinar since we have started, like if you don't take away anything from this webinar session today, take away the ability for you to ground yourself, to sit with your emotions, and overall build resilience as a man, while not forgetting to open up to people that you feel safe around. And thank you very much, Mr. Victor. That was an amazing
Okay.
session. And I want to ask you something very briefly. If you have a parting phrase, a parting sentence for us before we obviously call it join the curtains or close the curtains on today's webinar. Like, do you have a parting phrase or a parting sentence for us, Mr. Victor?
Just one thing. As a man, you are allowed to take up space. Hmm. You are
Hmm,
allowed to take up space. Don't hide.
hmm,
You are allowed to feel. Don't run from your emotions. Even
hmm.
though people around you, they do not recognize what you're feeling, I want you to recognize it because it starts with you.
Yes. Thank you so
Starts
much,
with you.
Mr. Victor. Yes, to everyone who joined the live, thank you for joining. Mr. Victor, we really, really do appreciate you hearing my body up. And I'm hopeful, I'm being positive that in the preceding sessions, we'll still bring you on board and we'll still have a chance to still dissect this topic deeper, deeper, deeper. And with this, I say thank you, Mr. Victor. I really do appreciate it today, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, my onboarding up people. We really, really appreciate you for joining today's session. A special thank you goes to Mr. Victor for sharing his time, his expertise, and his valuable insights with us. This was very thoughtful. We really appreciate you. As we have said earlier, we have dedicated courses, dedicated trainings for you all, my awarding up followers, and we expect you that you visit us on our website www.myonboardingup.org, and yes, take your pick. And yeah, that's it. So if you found this session valuable, please subscribe, follow us on our social media pages, and yes, on this note, we want to say thank you and do have an amazing weekend. I remain marvelous Ayomide.